What's up, everybody, and welcome back to A Beer Day with TK. It's a beautiful fall afternoon here in the beer shed, and I'm getting in some new beers. The beer I have today is called Weed Lite. Now, this beer was sent out to me by Pete, so before I begin, big shout out to Pete. Thanks for sharing this with me. Now, this one is kind of unique. I've never heard of Weed Lite, and I looked it up, and it looks like the brewery is called Weed Cellars, W-E-E-D-C-E-L-L-A-R-S. Now, it's a little confusing as to who Weed Cellars is. When I go on Untapped, we have a listing for Weed Cellars. It says Los Angeles, California, and says that they're a microbrewery. Now, they have this little blurb here about their brewery. It says, "We embrace equality and diversity. Weed Cellars is a unique lifestyle brand that has cracked the code of bringing a free-thinking culture to every state in America and across the world. No two Weed Cellars consumers are the same, and we celebrate your individuality. Weed Cellars has not only created a new category within the alcohol industry, we found a way to tap into the evolution of the cannabis space without using cannabis." What the fuck does that mean? You've tapped into the cannabis space without using cannabis. So, I mean, to me, I read that and it just says, we threw weed on the can to trick you into thinking it's weed-related and lure you into purchasing our stuff. I don't know, man. This sounds like this is not a good start. Not what I expect to hear from a brewery. Our wine, beer, and spirit labels pay homage to the individual in all of us, but contain only alcohol. Behind Weed Cellars works an impressive team of creative and sharp advisors, including business savants, hockey stars, and country music icons and R&B artists. Again, to me, this is everything I don't want to hear from a brewery. This doesn't sound like a brewery. This sounds like the Kardashians tried to put together some sort of portfolio of things and label it with a trendy name to try to sell it to people. So, I don't know, man. I'm interested to try this, but that does scare the hell out of me. The other thing that's super confusing, this says they're from LA, but when I look on the can here, this is adorned with all kinds of Texas stuff. So it says, "Go Texan," and we have the little state of Texas down here. And then when I look on the side, it says that it's brewed in San Antonio, Texas, right? And then when I pulled up the actual site for this Weed Cellars, on the contact details, it takes you to Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm kind of unsure of what's going on here. My guess, and this is completely speculation on my part, is that somebody made this beer as part of some kind of corporate foray into the alcohol industry, and then brewing it in different places, maybe Texas, maybe California, maybe other spots. I don't know, man. It's just a bit weird to me. Now, I will say this, as it does say it's brewed in Texas, and Go Texas on here, I'm going to give this can a big old Steve Austin. Usually I give you a Hacksaw Jim Duggan if you're brewed in America, but the Republic of Texas is its own place, right? My wife is from Texas, so I always like to try some Texas beers. Now, the only ones I think I really get, Shiner obviously is probably everywhere. I had the Lone Star a while back. I know it's not great, but it's a cool kind of iconic beer. Was happy to give it a shot. And I know Anderson's had a few through the Rare Beer Club, but I don't see a whole lot of Texas beers. So even though I'm kind of leery about this company, I'm anxious to give it a shot and see what it is. Now, like I said, it's supposed to be like a light lager, so I'm not expecting anything too crazy from it. The other thing that was interesting on the can here, it says not endorsed by the U.S. government. So I don't know what that's in reference to. Maybe the American flag logo on the front, or the fact that it says weed. Like maybe they're saying it's not a weed drink, not endorsed by the government. Not 100% sure what they were going for there. Anyway, this one's 3.4% ABV, so obviously very light. The label's just kind of looks like it's that stuff you used to put on your textbooks when you were in grade school and peels right off, right on the silver label. But hey, let's give it a shot. Had a nice pop to it at least, right? This looks super carbonated, ton of bubbles. I don't think I poured that super vigorously, but still got a big old head on it. As far as the color, I'm going maybe a 1. I mean, this is pale straw. You can see right through it, ton of bubbles. I'm getting some kind of Coors Light vibes off of this. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I assume that's what it's going for. If it's a 3.4%, super light lager, I'm guessing that's what the target audience is. Ton of carbonation in there. Bubbles are going wild. Head, now I will say this, compared to something like a Coors Light, the head don't look too bad, right? I mean, we got multiple fingers of white frothy head there, partially probably due to my knob head pour, but it looks all right. Let's give it a sniff. Not a whole lot going on. Light, kind of cracker, malt kind of smell. I was fearing that it might have like that gross corn smell or alcohol smell, but I'm not really picking that up at all. I mean, I guess it's only 3.4%. I think the Old Spice I use in the morning is a higher ABV, but it smells okay. All right, let's give it a shot. Cheers. Light bodied, obviously, probably no surprise there. Now, I will say this. I said it didn't have the corn smell. This does have a corn taste to it. So for me, this tastes like a lot of the macro light beers that are out there. And if that's your thing, then maybe this is a decent beer for you. This might be something that's up your alley. For me, I'm not really feeling this. Now you do pick up a tiny bit of hoppiness, and you pick up kind of like that crackery malt. You pick up a little bit of sweetness, and I can usually dig it if it's like a honey sweetness or a light sweetness. And this isn't overly sweet, but whatever the sweetness is tastes kind of weird, and it does have a bit of a funky taste to it. It's not really a skunky taste, but it's something similar. And I know a lot of times, again, I'm not a chemist or biochemist or whatever, but I know it's like that alcohol, that weird alcohol-y kind of flavor that I'm not really a fan of. Obviously not high ABV, but it still has that funky kind of taste. So, you know, super thrilled to be able to try this from wherever it's from, whether it's LA, Texas, or wherever. I hope it's Texas with all this Texas stuff on the can. But for me, this one here, Weed Lite from Weed Cellars, this one would be a thumbs down. I wouldn't be drinking this again. Again, I'm not a huge light beer dude, but there are some decent ones out there. This one's just not for me. I still appreciate it. Again, Pete, thanks for sending it out, my friend. I'd be interested if you tried one to let me know what you think of it down below. Also, if anybody else had it, let me know your thoughts. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe. And as always, you got any comments or questions, let me know down below. Hey, till next time. Cheers.